So this morning I'm going to discuss how the European elites, the elites around the world, are very, very comfortable. They're too comfortable. Provoking a nuclear war. And we'll start with this particular article on TASS. Medvedev lashes out at EU ambassadors refusing to meet with Lavrov. Security Council Deputy Chairman believes that European Union ambassadors should be kicked out of Russia. March the 4th, Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev believes that the European Union ambassador should be kicked out of Russia for refusing to meet with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, with the level of diplomatic relations with their states downgraded. The ambassadors of the EU states to Russia declined. What's going on here? Pushes back in. Here we go. Declined a meeting with the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, allegedly following some advice from Brussels. This goes totally against the very idea of existence of diplomatic missions and assignments of ambassadors. Alright, so what we have here is ambassadors that are living over there in Russia just refusing to meet with Russian ambassadors. They're way too comfortable. Now, living over there in Russia and being comfortable is just a little bit much in my opinion. Now, I want to show you this article, which I find very interesting. And those of you who have an IQ above room temperature will notice it immediately. Europe must contain wars in Ukraine and Gaza before the next president is sworn in, David Cameron warns. Now, who is David Cameron? David Cameron was a former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and he is the current Foreign Minister, or as we in the United States like to call Secretary of State, for the UK, Great Britain. Now, look at how he worded this. Europe must contain wars in Ukraine and Gaza before the next U.S. president. Well, wait a minute. I thought that the Great Britain was exited from Europe or the EU. This raises all kinds of questions. But what is he suggesting? That I'm telling you that he is suggesting that the U.S. is not as gung-ho for this nuclear war as Europe is. Not even with Joe Biden as president, even if he is president or not, who knows. The Europe must contain wars in Ukraine and Gaza before the next U.S. president is sworn in, David Cameron warns. And of course, what he's also suggesting is that unless they delete Donald Trump, that he is going to be the next president of the United States. Not that he is any better than Joe Biden. I mean, he has a population plan too. It's called Operation Warp Speed. But he still believes in Operation Warp Speed, as opposed to how the current administration has basically abandoned Operation Warp Speed because people have caught on to it. But they are not pushing as hard for a nuclear war as the EU is, or as Europe is. I have to add Great Britain pushing just as hard, in fact might be pushing the hardest for this nuclear war. How are they going to contain the wars in Ukraine and Gaza ahead of swearing in of the next U.S. president? Make it so that Article 5 is invoked before the next U.S. president is sworn in? So, Poland's foreign minister says the presence of NATO troops in Ukraine is not unthinkable. What he really means is they've been thinking long and hard about it, and that's going to be the next item on their agenda. Now let's have a look at some bunkers, and let's see why these people are so confident. Now, the U.S. does not have as many bunkers as Europe does. So Finland counted its bomb shelters and found 50,500 of them. Okay? And, these are pictures of bunkers in the USA, but there's basically bunkers for the rich. Okay. And you poor folks, you're just going to be left hung out to dry. And you can see a map of the UK, how many that they have in the UK. There's not near enough. There's not near enough bunkers to hold everybody. Let's just be honest, folks. But guess who's going to be first in line to their bunkers? The politicians, the war generals, the elite, and the wealthy. Now, then you have Bunker 42 in Russia. It is the most nuclear resistant bunker in the world. It occupies 7,000 square meters and located at a depth of 65 meters under Taganka Square. All right. But you see, folks, there is a slight problem with all of this. You see, as I pointed out many times, I'm going to go to this. Now I want to show you real quick this video that I did, when was it? February 11th, when the World Depopulation Agenda Begins, all Israel shall be gathered to the four winds. And as I have pointed out many, many times, they will be gathered to the four winds by the two witnesses. At 15-minute and 20-second mark, you can see the Deagle depopulation forecast for 2025. And as you continue listening to this, you will see that the usual suspects exposed. And when I mean the usual suspects, I mean three-letter agencies. But you can listen to that and you can see what I'm talking about in that particular video. But I want to go to the two witnesses real quick. And I will say I told you so when this time comes, if I'm still alive. I also need to go to another passage. Now, Yochanan was given a reed, like a rod, like a staff. And the messenger stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of Jehovah, not God. And the altar. Well, the temple in those days was still intact and the altar was still there. And Yochanan was able to go in there and measure it, and them that worship therein. But the court which is outside the temple, cast it out. Throw it out. Why? And measure it not, for it is given to the Gentiles, and that one, the temple out, or the court which is outside the temple, that was always for the Gentiles. Because the Gentiles and the holy city, they will tread down underfoot for 42 months, and that was the Romans in 70 AD. Okay? And in retaliation, he's going to give power to his 2 witnesses at the end of days, and they will prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. And yes, this is the reason why I wear this potato sack. It is my nod to them that they are coming, my witness to you that the 2 witnesses are coming, and the havoc that they are going to wreak upon the Gentile world. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth, which means fire comes down from heaven at their words that comes out of their mouth, and devours their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must be in this manner be killed. They have the power to shut the sky, that it rain not on the earth in the days of their prophecy. For the first order of business for them is going to be, there will be no rain for the entire duration of their prophecy. No water. And then what is the second order of business? That they have the power over water to turn them into blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. So those bunkers are not going to do anybody any good. Because you see, you have to have water, and I don't care how airtight, how many filters you've got, these 2 men will have the power to turn them into blood after filtration. Now, as I remember, when the people of Israel were in the land of Goshen during the plague of blood, I'm not sure, but I have to look back into that. But at a particular point in time, there came a separation. There came a separation between the people of Israel and the people of Egypt, and the plagues that were laid upon the people of Egypt had no effect on the Israelites who were in the land of Goshen, which land of Goshen is still in Egypt. Now when they have finished their testimony, that also is when they are finished gathering the elect. Israel is the elect, as I pointed out many times in Isaiah 46, I believe it's verse 4. So what I'm going to do is show you Isaiah 46 and verse 4, and then we'll go to Mittityahu. I believe it's Isaiah 46, 45, verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect. That's right. I have even called you by your name. I have surnamed you, though you have not known me. Okay. Now what we're going to do is go to gather the elect, shall we? So Israel is the elect. There's no question about it. And if you need New Testament proof, You can find it in Romans 11 verses 25 through 28. But you won't. Many of you will not go there to read it because you don't want to believe that Israel is the elect. And that makes you insolent. It is a word, insolent is a word that describes the great whore of Revelation 17. Okay. Now, before I go to gather the elect, you can see right here in Isaiah 11 verse 12, gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered. Look at this. So he will set up a sign for the Gentiles, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and shall gather together the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth. Now, let's hang on to that particular scripture, and we will go to gather the elect. Let's see if it pulls up. Okay. Matityahu, not Matthew. The name is Hashem is in Matityahu. So you say that name correctly. Okay? What was that? Was it 8? 31. 31. Okay. Now after the tribulation of those days, what days? The tribulation that was upon Israel. This was the tribulation that was on Israel. And that's past tense now. I've proven it probably 100 times. Immediately but after the tribulation of those days, Israel's tribulation, shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. And I want you to pay attention and remember this right here. And the stars shall fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in the sky, and all the tribes of the earth shall be cut off, shall be struck. Struck with what? Struck with plagues. And while that is happening, they will see the Son of Man coming in the cloud of the sky with power and great glory, and he will send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather his elect. Israel is the elect, whether you like it or not, from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. And he shall set up a sign to the Gentiles, and they shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth. Same scripture. You know, it's talking about the root of Jesse. Yeah, Yehoshua is going to send the messengers. See? And this is during the time when Yehudah is going to fly upon the shoulders of the Pelesheth upon Edom in South Jordan and Moab in Ammon and the rest of Jordan. Okay? This is about the people of Israel. Now, in Isaiah 66, once again, we're going to find out who is going to do this. It's going to be the two witnesses. We get the number, we get 2 from Revelation 11, we get the number, and we get that they are going to be the messengers gathering the elect from the 4 winds from here. We're going, in other words, what we get in Matityahu 24, we get it from here. Verse 18, for I know their works and their thoughts, and it shall come to pass, or it shall happen, that I will gather all the Gentiles, the Goy, okay, and the tongues, and they will come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them. We just read about the sign among the nations in Isaiah 11. I will send escapees of them to the Gentiles. Escapees. Fugitives. Just like Aaliyah was a fugitive from Ahab. He's going to send fugitives. Let's look at it again. An escaped one. Fugitive. How many? 2. We know there's going to be 2 because of Revelation 11. And they will come with the power of Moshe and Aaliyah. All right? To the Gentiles. To Tarshish first. As we read in Isaiah 60, to Pul and Lud that draw the bow, to Tubal, to Greece, to the coastlands, that the coastlands would be the Roman Empire, Europe, to hear my fame, not that have not heard my fame, to hear my fame, to see my glory, and they shall declare my glory unto the Gentiles. How are they going? What are they going to do? They're going to bring all your brethren for an offering unto not the Lord but Jehovah out of the Gentiles upon flying birds. In chariots, 4-wheeled vehicles, in covered wagons, on trains, upon mules and upon swift beasts, any kind of transportation that they can possibly find to my holy mountain Jerusalem. Because the children of Israel will be like an offering in a clean vessel unto the Jehovah, and the children of Israel will be for priests and Levites, says Jehovah. And for as a new heaven and a new earth shall I make, which shall remain before me, says Jehovah, so that your seed will remain and your name shall remain. Now, why? Well, you just see right here in Matityahu 24, it says, and except those days be shortened, which is the tribulation upon Israel, or maybe the Gentiles' dominion, as Paul pointed out, the time of the Gentiles coming to an end, or as Luke 21 says the time of the Gentiles comes to the end. In fact, we can look at it right here, when the time of the Gentiles comes to the end or is fulfilled. Okay, so we go back. It says, and except those days be shortened, curtailed, to curtail, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So we read here, is a part of the depopulation plan coming to the earth is to completely wipe every Jew off the face of the earth, all Israel off the face of the earth. That is a part of the depopulation plan. That is the scheme, folks. So he is saying, For as a new heaven and a new earth shall I make, and will remain before me, says Jehovah, so that your seed and your name remains. So that the seed of Israel and the seed and their name remains. Now, if we go to then new heaven, watch this. Look how many times it is mentioned. 2 Cephas 3:13 as well. All right? And this is what he's talking about here. So the new heaven and a new earth, stipulation must be so that the seed of Israel and their name, the name of Israel, shall remain. Now, so we go to Revelation, and I believe it's 22 or 21. I'm not sure which one it is. 21, I do believe. There it is right there. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. What is the point of this? So that the name of Israel and their seed shall remain. And we see the new Jerusalem coming out of the sky. And what do we see here? It had a wall, verse 12, great and high, and had 12 gates, and on the gates 12 messengers, and the names written on are the names of the 12 tribes of the church. Is that what it says? No! The names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Why? So that their seed and their name, each and every tribe, shall remain. And right now, they are saying, we need to wrap this up before this guy becomes president, because he is deviating slightly from our plan. They believe that they want to depopulate the earth, as I have shown you, through the scripture and through the Deagle 2025 forecast. And I'm show you, look at, I think I've showed you all these bunkers. Okay. So now we go to Isaiah 24. You were shown that their plans are going to be busted, especially when their water turns into blood. It's not going to go as planned. They want to depopulate the earth. All right. If the earth is going to be depopulated, it is going to be depopulated by Jehovah's word. Yes, according to Revelation 9, these people will successfully take out 1/3 of the world's population. Verses 17 through 18, you can read it for yourself. Now, Jehovah, that's the name right there. Look at it, read it, it's right there in front of you. Makes the earth empty and makes it waste. Oh, how is he going to do that? Well, the first plague was what? No rain upon the earth for 3.5 years. That'll do it. That'll do it. When all forestry, all plains turn to tinder, and the winds, hot winds blowing on, and turns it on its face, scattering abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it's going to be the same. I don't care. He does not care what stature the person is. With the people as with the priest, so as with the servant, so as with his master, so as the maid, so with their mistress, as with the buyer, so the seller, as with the lender, so the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so as the giver of usury. The land will be made empty. Will be emptied out. All right. Now look at the way that this verbiage is made, will be emptied, will be plundered, because Jehovah has spoken it. The earth will be lamenting. The earth will be lamenting and will be disgraced, dishonored, lightly esteemed, come to nothing, made vile. So go from green to absolute desolation. The world will be weakened, will be languishing, and disgraced. The haughty people of the earth will also languish. So your bunkers and your water supply will do nothing for you. The earth is also polluted and profaned under the inhabitants thereof. Why? Because they've transgressed instruction. They changed the ordinances. They want to say that men can turn into women and that men can turn into men. But they also broke the new covenant. They did. How did they break it? I have gone over many, many times. Them refusing to allow all Israel to go back home to the Holy Land, into the land that was promised them. How the, what was it, I can't remember, the original agreement, the British mandate to the Jews was the whole of, as they say, the, what they call it, the Palestine mandate was supposed to go to the Jews, and they reneged on that. I have done videos proving that, and YouTube went and removed one of them. Therefore the curse has devoured the earth. So you see, since you refuse to let Israel go back to their Holy Land, this happens to you. And the two witnesses are going to be sent. And they will bring all sorts of plagues. You thought that you had the ability to call fire down from the sky with your nuclear weapons. Well, that's going to be nothing compared to what the two witnesses, just at the words that come out of their mouth, with no tools whatsoever, but with the words that come out of their mouth, are going to be able to do things that you could never do. Therein are desolate, therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, scorched, and a trifling few men left. The new wine mourns, the vine languishes. All the happy people are sighing. All the music ceases. There is no rejoicing. No more drinking wine or liquor. That stuff will be incredibly bitter for them to drink. The city of Babel, or confusion, is broken down. Every house is shut, so that no man may come in. There's a cry for wine in the streets. All the homeless winos are out there. They got nothing. All the joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city, is left desolation, and the gate is struck with destruction. In the midst of the land among the people there shall be a quaking of an olive tree and the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. That's talking about the great earthquake. And there is a people that will be lifting up their voices, that will be singing for the majesty of not the Lord, but Jehovah. And remember, Yoel 2, the last 2 verses. And those who proclaim Shem Jehovah shall be delivered, for in Mount Zion, Jerusalem shall be deliverance. And they will cry aloud from the sea, from the Mediterranean Sea. They will glorify Jehovah in the fires, the name of Jehovah Elohim of Israel in the coastlands of the sea, while lands are on fire. Remember, it is written that the people of Israel in those days shall walk through the fire and not be burned. You can use your little search on this particular app, and you can find that for yourself. From the uttermost parts of the earth we have heard songs, even, what is it? Beautiful, righteous. I said, my leanness, woe to unto me. Treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yes, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously, and I've been telling you for years how these world leaders have dealt treacherously with the people of Israel. Fear and the pit and the snare are now upon you, O inhabitants of the earth. It shall come to pass that those who flee from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that comes up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. It's going to be Murphy's Law. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth are now shaking. The earth is utterly broken down, and the earth is defeated. So here's that language again. The earth is afflicted. The earth is defeated. The earth is quaking. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and flutter like showing grief. Like a cottage or a hut is flapping when the earth is quaking. Because the transgression shall be heavy, and it shall fall and not rise again. It shall come to pass in that day, Jehovah will attend, will visit the host of the armies. Right there, Tzabah means armies of the high ones that are on high. And who are the highest ones on high today? I will tell you. The U.S. President and the U.S. Congress and all of their generals. The Russian President, the Russian Congress and all of their generals. The European presidents, prime ministers, and all of their legislative bodies and all of their armies. The Chinese dictator and their parliament and all of their armies, all of them, there's nothing excluded. And the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they will be gathered as prisoners are gathered from the pit, and they will be shut up in prison, and after many days they shall be visited. It's not going to work out for you guys in the EU. It's not going to work out for you, David Cameron. I know you want to start to get this nuclear war underway. You want to get it done quick. You want to get it done before the election. So to the rest of you who are listening, you now know their timeline. Okay? And you know that the UK is leading the charge. The UK and France is leading the charge for this effort. He has laid before you the timeline before the election. How can you not know? Now, what I want to point out to you is then, as I have done every single year for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I can't remember. I go to Haggai, the prophet Haggai, and you will see a timeline. Now, for those of you who say no man knows the day nor the hour, remember, he said, but if the good man of the house would have known what watch the thief was coming, he would have been ready. Do you know what watch you're in? Because if you watch this video, you do. You know what their timing is. You know they're going to try to wrap this thing up before the election. Let me show you something. Verse 18. Set in place. Set this day. Appoint this day. Oh, why haven't you appointed this day? What is so special about this day? Above, set this day, appoint this day above, exceedingly, and forward. But it's saying from now on, appoint this day above, exceedingly, very high above, as high as the sky. Why don't you know about this? Well, you know now. What is so special about that day? Well, let's find out what that day is. The 24th day of the 9th month. Well, those of you who are Hebrew calendar fluent, you know right away that is right about the day before or the day of Hanukkah. The day that the foundation of not the Lord's temple, Jehovah's temple, was laid. Set that day. Set it. Put it in place. Appoint that day. And as you read before, very high. Okay? Why? Because on that day, is he going to bless Israel on that day? Now, what day is Hanukkah begin in the year 2024? Coincidentally, it happens on the same day that the pagans celebrate Saturnalia. Yeah, Saturnalia. I said it. Oh, you call it Christmas. It's Saturnalia. And again, the word of, not the Lord, but Jehovah, came into Haggai in what? The 24th day of the month. Speaking of the 9th month, the 24th day. So he came, went, so he said, told him, now remember this day, set it up high. And then when that day came, here's what happened. The word of Jehovah came into Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Yehuda, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth. What did we just read in Isaiah 24? Shaking of the heavens and the earth. I will overthrow the thrones of the kingdoms. We read that in Isaiah 24. I will destroy the strength and the kingdoms of the Gentiles, and I will overthrow their chariots and those that ride in them. Check. We read that. And their fighter jets. Yep. And their riders shall come down every one by the sword of his brother. In that day, says the Jehovah of hosts, I will take you, Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel, says Jehovah, and I will make a sign. Make you a sign. We read about the sign in Isaiah 11 and Isaiah 66. For I have chosen, says Jehovah. Now his name is a sign. Begotten in Babylon. Revelation 17, come out of her, my people, Israel, and be not partakers of her sins or her plagues, because her sins have now reached unto heaven. Now, to finish it up, yes, the sun and the moon shall be confounded, and when Jehovah of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem. Yoel 2, last two verses. And his ancients, the old men. Who are they? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the prophets, and the believers, gloriously. So are you ready for the world's depopulation plan? Are you ready for Jehovah's depopulation plan? We read here. It should be it says few men left. A trifling few men left. I hope you are ready. There's going to be nothing in those bunkers for you folks. Nothing. So why even bother? You're going to have to live by faith. So, I hope you are preparing yourself, and to David Cameron and to the rest of the world leaders who feel comfortable, don't get comfortable, because you will be frog marched to Jerusalem for trial. Let me show that to you as well. And as we read here, that the people of Israel are flying as a cloud, as doves to the windows, on the ships of the west, Tarshish, to bring your sons from afar. All right? And while all this is happening, the sons of strangers will build back up your walls, and their kings shall serve you, be your servants. For in my wrath I smote you, Jerusalem, but in my favor I have now had mercy upon you. For this reason your gates shall be open continually, they shall but not be shut day nor night, that men may bring in the wealth Read it right there. The wealth of the Gentiles, and that their kings might be brought. Yes, their kings are going to be frog marched over to Jerusalem, thrown in prison, and after many days will be put on trial. Or something like that. Yes, the two witnesses are going to do this job for the nation and the kingdom, but will not serve. Jerusalem shall perish. Those nations shall be utterly wasted. Decayed, decayed. Dried up. Don't forget the plague of no rain from the two witnesses. They will be dried up. All right? So you better get ready. This is not fun and games here, folks.